Thanks for your company here on Joy News today. Now, prostate cancer is a real condition, but that does not mean that you are doomed when you are diagnosed with the disease. The final part of that series, Hotline documentary, Balls in Danger, airs tonight. Here are some excerpts.
My name is Seth Kwame Boatin. Here is a story about men and how a cancerous growth in their genitals has become a dreadful thief of their potency and a killer. Prostate cancer patients endure a lot of psychological distress, battling anxiety and depression, beside the pains that come with it. Services of clinical psychologists must be sought to help prostate cancer patients face their fears. Luckily, I have met one of such clinical psychologists, Dexon Dykosen. He has done an extensive research on the psychological impact of cancers, including prostate cancer.
When the person is going through this phase of therapy, including the biopsy that they will do, it comes with pain in addition to the person's distress. Some experience some level of obesity, some diabetic conditions come in which were not associated with the person already. So the person, even though the person has a cancer to contend with, he has other challenges also to contend with. And then eventually you are told that this phase of the treatment might not help you in terms of your sexual potency, which is the prostatectomy and all that. So if that happens, this is where the person comes with terms that it looks as if I really have a challenge. And most men, when they get that news that this phase, you are not likely going to sustain your erection very well, or you are not going to be able to have enough libido, it comes with a big challenge, bigger challenge.
This is not a fiction. It is the reality. There are more men battling with prostate cancer who are holding on tight to their balls. They prefer dying with it than living without it. One of such men is in Aswanse, suburb of Kumasi. He is 56 years, and for purposes of this documentary, he wants to be called Ibrahim. He has vowed to resist any attempt by doctors to touch his manhood, even if it is a move to save his life. Ibrahim started experiencing the symptoms of prostate cancer some years ago, and it has already affected his potency.
The urge to have sex is no longer there. Erection is even a problem now. I have to rely on a drug before I can experience a bit of that. Without the drug, I can't have sex. I used to go to the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital for medicine. Even with that, I can't reach orgasm, but at least my wife does. On a lucky day, I could have a small discharge. Without the drug, the urge to have sex does not even arise, though I have blood flowing through me.
At this point, the psychological burden extends to other members of the family.
The final part of the Hotline documentary, Balls in Danger, airs tonight at 6:30 p.m. Do make a date. Now, a bad road characterized by muddy surface from Kintampo to Zabama in the Bunoahafu region poses a major challenge to residents and other commuters. The situation exposes users to persistent armed robbery as commercial drivers in particular come to their endurance limit. The road users say they are fed up with the conditions and want government to complete the road construction for them. Now, the construction of the road is said to have been abandoned just after the 2016 elections. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
Weather and delay execution have led to this muddy condition. It all started just after the 2016 elections when the contractor abandoned work. Life in this part of the country is unbearable due to the pathetic condition of the road, especially in the rainy season.
oba obre ahaya akura me botrotro mtibra me bre no mintimi mfa fourth year this is second and first and I made 90 and I nipa kura 90 kura bre.
A farmer arrives back home after a hard day's work. This is the agony passengers have had to endure to get to their various destinations, from Kintampo to Zabarma and route to Parai, also in the same region. It is just life-threatening. People fall and rise several times on their journey. Motorbikes and tricycles struggle through in the face of rampant armed robbery attack.
When they nyokura despite yen don yen no so a yen ba bia akoton ntemata bia ye boka
so bi yar kora na ye din se ye ko dwa no dwa wo ya ye koi se hwe nante na ye nam se ka ba kora de wona ka kora on fa kwan no so kora no wa na adwure se wo ba boy nti amaye ho kire pa.
Only time will tell when residents of communities in the catchment area would say goodbye to the mud. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reporting.
Let's do some security issues. Volta Regional Minister Dr. Archibald Letcher says the Alavanyo and Konya conflict has moved beyond a dispute over a piece of land. The conflict spiraled into gun violence again over the weekend, with one resident of Alavanyo sustaining injury. Now, prior to this, the two towns have been under a dusk-to-dawn curfew over a land dispute that has lasted for almost a century. Dr. Letcher said on News Desk, security services have regained control of the situation.
So it's gone beyond. It's gone beyond. Sometimes they are reprisal attacks. Some people who have lost relatives in the past want to revenge, even after so many years. They want to revenge. That is also a factor. So what we're doing is to work on those who have lost relatives during the conflict from Kunya and Alavanyo side, and let them go through a process of healing, so that they don't try to revenge. It's a multi-pronged attack that we are launching on this particular challenge that we have. And as of now, my officers are on the ground, and we have a regional security council meeting at 3 p.m. to discuss this problem.
Now, government recently announced it was taking over the disputed parcel of land. What has happened to that plan?
We're still working on the modalities for that. We're still consulting with the people to agree on the way forward. So government intends to take over the land, but we still need to do a lot of consultation before that can be done. But for the meantime, our peace building process is ongoing. We are engaging with the chiefs, the three mothers, the youth, and the communities at large. And, so far, so good. It's good. We are very happy that no lives have been lost in the recent attacks, but we would prefer that there are no attacks at all. So the police and the military will have to up their game so that we can arrest the perpetrators. And we've been asking the community to cooperate with us and provide us with intelligence, so that those criminals that are living among them can be identified and brought to book.
Now, will it be right to say that the situation is becoming hopeless?
No, it's not. It is not. We are on the ground. We are handling the situation, and I can assure the good people of Ghana that there is no cause for alarm.
Let's stay in the Volta region, and the Volta Region Minister Dr. Archibald Letcher has reiterated the ban on the consumption of the puffer fish in the Kwando municipality of the Volta region. He says the health services in the region have also begun embarking on a massive education drive to sensitize the public on the dangers of eating the fish. He was speaking on News Desk.
The health authorities, food and drug authority, and the Municipal Assembly of Pando have done a lot of public education. And so, apart from the lives that were lost, people have been advised to avoid eating that particular fish. In fact, that fish is known to be poisonous. And people know. The people who are very skillful in handling it are the only people who eat it. But we've advised everybody to stay off that particular fish.
Let's do some politics now. The just ended New Patriotic Party Delegates Conference had its fair share of controversy. Amendments to the constitution were proposed by the party leadership, but they were not passed. One of such was a suggestion by MPs that party members who run for office on an independent ticket will be suspended from the party for 8 to 10 years. Political scientist Dr. Bosman Asare, however, thinks this rule is not advisable. Well, we've been joined on the phone by Member of Parliament for Kaikwe North, Fuseni Issa. Welcome, sir, and good afternoon to you.
Hello, good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Great. Now, what do you make of the amendments that were suggested during your delegates conference over the weekend?
Well, should I say a good afternoon also to my constituents in the Kaikwe North? What actually transpired in Cape Coast over the weekend or on Saturday was an annual delegates congress, which is a constitutional requirement of our party's constitution. One of the key or highlights of such delegates congress, because the delegates congress is the highest decision-making body of the party, it affords the party opportunity to make any necessary amendments to its constitution. This is to ensure that the party's constitution is in line with modern times. Amongst other things, a number of amendments were proposed to be considered at this gathering. The leadership of the party actually thought it wise that given the number of amendments that have been suggested, we couldn't sit, and also given our numbers and our time constraints, we couldn't sit and look at all the proposals one after the other. It was a whole booklet full of proposals or suggestions that people think that we should do to our constitution. So it was agreed by and large that we go to the National Council, set up a committee, afford the committee the opportunity to look at those amendments. After they have looked at those amendments, then we can hold another extraordinary Congress or delegate conference to be able to approve or disapprove some of these amendments. So that is the process the party, or that is by and large what we, the delegates that gathered in Cape Coast on Saturday.
Mr. Fuseni, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so political scientist Bosman Asare, Dr. Bosman Asare, has actually suggested that one of your amendments is not advisable, the one that has to do with members who run as independent candidates and they having to be suspended for about 8 to 10 years. What do you make of his reaction to that?
I think that as a party, we've been through a lot of those instances. We have seen party members leave the party, stand as candidates, and when they win their seats, they come back and sit to the party in parliament. When they lose their seats, they also probably come back to the party or leave the party in total. But we think that for a party like the New Patriotic Party, which is supreme, the party is bigger than any one individual, and so we need to set a standard by which members of the party are held to. We can't allow this midway where people, as and when they deem fit, to contest on the party ticket, and as and when they think that it's in their interest to go independent, and as and when they want to come into the party. We need to actually streamline that sort of thing. I am totally in support that once somebody goes independent, for me, it means that a person is working against the interest of the party. once the party makes a decision, either at the National Delegates Congress or at the Constituency Congress, and decides that this is our candidate, it behoves on every member of the party to support the candidate chosen by the party. Once you leave the party to contest, it should be tantamount to you usurping the powers of our Constitution. And I think that it has to be some very, very, very severe, for want of a better word, hello?
Yeah, Mr. Fuseni, but 8 to 10 years is about 2 terms of the political calendar. Isn't that too much?
I don't think it's too much. I don't think it's too much.
All right. So what does this mean for the party going forward in terms of what you were able to achieve at this particular delegates conference?
It means that the new patriotic party, like we have done in the past, we are still growing. We are still inviting the tenets of democracy in our party. It is just one of the things that we need. But you see, the uniqueness of this year's Congress was that it was started around the country at the constituency level. All the regions have also held their Congress before we went to the National Congress. It is just going the party, ensuring that the tenets of our Constitution are abided by. So we're just doing the right thing, and we hope that it will inure to our political fortunes and invite the discipline that we need in this party.
Really grateful that you could join us here. That's all time will permit us. Fuseni Issa is the MP for Okaikoyi North, there speaking on the delegates conference of the NPP that happened over the weekend. And he's actually agreeing with that amendment that will seek to suspend members of the party who go independent for 8 to 10 years. You're watching Joy News today with me, Benes Abubedu. There's more right after this. Thanks for staying here on Joy News today. Now, U.S. Senator Chris Coons has expressed the need for legislators, traditional leaders and civil society to make personal sacrifices to protect Ghana's democracy. He believes it's only when legislators, for instance, make decisions in the interest of the country which may go against their party that the nation can deal with issues like corruption. Chris Coons was speaking during a visit of a U.S. congressional delegation to the Institute of Economic Affairs.
It required courage by legislators. It required attention by media to hold him to account. And it required a federal prosecutor who was independent. Only with those three was he called to account. He easily could have avoided accountability. And our institutions, I think our institutions in the United States are fairly deep and fairly strong. At the state level, at the federal level, the independence of our executive, judiciary, and legislature. But they are being tested right now, greatly. And they will be tested in the years ahead. And it requires some folks stepping forward. Right now, there is a special prosecutor named Robert Mueller, who is the former FBI director, who is investigating the President of the United States for obstruction of justice. That is a powerful sentence. And there was grave concern that our President might fire him because of things he was saying. So a Republican senator from the President's party came to me right before we left for the month of August and said, I want to introduce a bill to defend the special prosecutor, to make it much harder for him to be fired, and to give him a judicial avenue for redress in the event of an inappropriate firing. I looked at him and I said, really? That's impressive. Thank you. Would you like to have our lawyers talk about this over the recess? He said, no. We need to introduce this bill now. We sat down and hammered it out and introduced it the next day. It's easy for me to do. It's brave for him to do. And he has attracted public attacks from the President for doing so. All I'm going to say, by way of example, is that in order for democracy to be stronger, occasionally it requires judges, police officers, senators, congressmen, business people, think tank leaders, faith leaders, traditional leaders, to step forward and say, we are stewards of institutions that will live beyond us, only if we sacrifice.
Majority Leader in Parliament, Osei Mensah Bonsu, agreed with the Senator that Parliament needs to act more independently. He revealed that new legislation is being introduced within the House to better enable them carry out their watchdog role.
We need to strengthen our institutions of governance. I think it's the only route to surviving as a nation. And if you're able to do that, then we'll be able to see the dividends of democratic governance. Because I get worried sometimes when people get agitated. They want to see the dividends. And whatever we say about development projects, ultimately should find expression in the living standards of our people. They are not saying much. Food security, providing employment, and generating prosperity for our people. That is what we require to do. And we're not doing much in these areas. So let's be much more up and doing. And I think that certainly will be the way for us. All governments are the same. We should not delude ourselves. If we leave them, human as they are, people will begin to cut corners, which is why it's important to strengthen the institutions, the anti-corruption institutions, especially Parliament. We can talk about SHRAC, we can talk about YOCO, we can talk about the Auditor General, we can talk about the Attorney General, Statistical Service, and so on. But I think ultimately, because Parliament has financial control over the executive in what we exercise during the consideration of the budget, and we should be much more proactive in when budgets start rolling out, using the instruments of various committees in Parliament to oversee what is happening within the ambit of the executive, and not leave them to do their own things, and also not leave the entire enterprise on the shoulders of just one committee, the Public Accounts Committee. All committees in Parliament are required to oversee the executives in the various sectors. Unfortunately, we do not appear to be doing much in those areas. What Public Accounts does, really, is a posthumous exercise. But we should not live to often apply our efforts on posthumous adventures. When concurrent to the rolling out of budgets, committees should be triggered to perform their oversight responsibilities. And by that, we'll be able to hold government in check, and government will do what is right.
But they say partisanship plays a big role in Parliament, and that is what is stopping.
At the committee level, it shouldn't be. At the committee level, we operate consensually, which is why elsewhere, and you know, I've related to how committees in Parliament are structured in our part of the world. Elsewhere, there's a different structure. For instance, we all do acknowledge that even though Parliament exists to hold governments in check, human as we are, a ruling party's members in Parliament would usually not feel very comfortable confronting their own administrations. The onus or the burden of oversight usually rests much on the shoulders of the opposition parties than the ruling parties, which is why in other jurisdictions, in the established jurisdictions, a winning party does not hold the leadership of all parties, of all the committees in Parliament. See, so we think that maybe we should have a second look at that and see how to improve on the governance architecture in Parliament itself.
The District Chief Executive for Dafia Busie Isa, Nadi Morosanda, has revealed that plans are far afoot to elevate the Isa Health Center to the status of a district hospital. The district has no medical doctor, and its over 32,000 residents depend on the few health centers and over a dozen community health-based planning services CHIPS compounds for medical care. Mr. Morosanda said they've written a proposal to source funding for the construction of female, male, children and surgical wards, an outpatient department with consulting rooms and others to enable them make the conversion by 2019. Mr. Morosanda was speaking at a town hall meeting held at Dafiama in the Dafamia Busia Isa district. Rafiq Salam reports.
The purpose of the town hall meeting organized by the Ministry of Information in collaboration with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development in some selected municipal and districts in the Upper West region basically seeks to provide platforms for government and its agencies to explain its policies, programs and development interventions to the public. It also provides the public opportunity to seek responses to issues bordering them. Dafiema Buse Isa district is one of 5 districts selected in the Upper West region to hold a forum. District Chief Executive for Dafiema Buse, Nadi Imoro Sanda, underscored the importance of the town hall meeting, saying it will promote transparency, openness, and accountability within the public space, and which in turn constitute key hallmarks of the country's decentralization process. He then laid bare some programs and projects embarked on by the government since he took over office 3 months ago.
It is also instructive to note that a good number of our youth have also been employed under the various models of the Youth Employment Program. The Micro and Small Loan Center, MASLOC, and the Youth Entrepreneurial Support Fund are also being repositioned so that they can offer the necessary financial and technical support to the youth to establish their own businesses and create jobs. Under the $1 million per constituency package, we recently submitted our district priority projects to the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives for scrutiny and necessary action. We are very hopeful the money will be released for the implementation of our prioritized needs to make life better for our people.
Mr. Imoro Sanda also spoke of plans to convey the Isa Health Center to the status of a district hospital.
The Assembly has written a proposal to secure funds to construct a female ward, a male ward, an outpatient department, which is known as OPD, with consulting rooms, children's ward, as well as surgical ward, among others. Within the same time of providing a district hospital by 2019, the Assembly has awarded contracts for the construction of a medical laboratory and doctor's bungalow at Isa with funding from our share of the District Assembly's Common Fund.
The participants, when given opportunity to ask questions, expressed concern over the lack of electricity in some communities in the district, deplorable and poor road network of the district, and above all, the increasing cases of armed robbery in the district. While Divisional Commander of the Ghana Police Service, Chief Superintendent Stephen Ngisa, however, allayed the fears of residents.
We have plans for the type of plans I cannot disclose it. But my warning to such criminals that they should either forget or stop whatever they are doing, or you come for them. We have enough information about them, so either they stop or you come for them. But when and where, that one I will not disclose.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, Dafiema.
And here in the Joy News studios, my name is Benis Abubedu.